Okay, so we've had this message, and I've actually hosted somebody recently who has kind of said a strict carnivore diet, as we define it as a strict carnivore diet, is not a good diet long term. You and I have talked about like recommending doing a carnivore diet for 30 days to kind of test it out and then see what other things you can tolerate. This has not been my experience, but according to this person, a strict carnivore diet for a long time is going to cause harm of some kind. He mentioned a few specific things. In your experience, have you come across people who have done a strict version of a carnivore diet for a long time, however we want to define that, and have had health issues because of it?
No, I've never seen that. I've only seen the opposite. I've only seen people improve. And some people take 6 months or so to really start, seeing those improvements. Most other people are seeing it early on. I have hundreds of patients doing a carnivore diet, and I check their blood work and I check on them, and they are all thriving. I have not seen a single person get worse, that their blood results got worse or their symptoms got worse. I've been doing this for 6.5 years straight. I did for 5.5 years straight in my early 20s, and I've never felt better. The Inuit have been doing it the entire existence of their culture and civilization, barring the last century. So no, of course not. I mean, this is there's no animal on earth that has a problem eating exclusively meat. I mean, even herbivores opportunistically eat other animals when they can, when and where they can. A larger herbivore, a, a horse or a deer or an elk, they might eat little baby ducks or chickens or rabbits. Even I've seen that. So that's pretty jarring, seeing an elk chewing up the body of
Savage.
of a rabbit. It's just like pretty crazy. But we don't get damaged by this. I mean, what's there to damage? I mean, there has to be, for there to be sort of damage long term, there had to be something going on. There had to be something toxic in nature in meat, which there is not. There's not a single damn thing. People say, well, saturated fat, cholesterol, thoroughly debunked 1,000 times over by tens of thousands of people. And so people can look that up. You know, Truth About Cholesterol and Heart Disease is a video that I did on YouTube. People can check out, and many other people have done many other amazing things, showing the scam of vilifying fat and cholesterol. So there's nothing wrong with meat. Okay, so what does that leave us to cause some sort of health issue? Would be a lack of essential nutrients. Well, there are no essential nutrients that are lacking in meat. We have everything that we need in the proportion that we need them, which is why we've had entire societies that have exclusively eaten meat and not had any problems. Well, it depends on the person. It depends on this. No, it really doesn't. Food is species specific. We are Homo sapiens sapiens. We're a subclass of humans. And when you start differentiating out, like so orcas, for instance, there's sort of different kinds of orcas. Some are a little bit bigger, some are a bit smaller, and they don't really communicate. Actually, they have sort of different languages, different calls, different sort of social patterns, and they don't like intermix. They don't interbreed. And but they're orcas. I mean, they could technically probably interbreed, but they sort of just don't. And one eat more fish, and one eats more like seals and bigger mammals and things like that. And they're now classifying those as different species, even though they're both orcas. And they look really damn similar, and they both just eat meat because they sort of differentiated on specialized the different kinds of meat that they eat. They're saying these are different species, right? So if you have like a wildly different diet, and especially to the sense that if you have two animals that have entirely different nutritional requirements, in the sense that like you will be deficient if you only eat meat, you need some of these plants, and you have others that only need meat, don't need any of these plants, 100% different species. 100%. I mean, they're calling orcas that just prefer fish, and orcas that prefer seals a different species, because that's too much of a difference, right? So you're talking about ones that require plants for optimal health, and ones that only require meat for optimal health. We're calling that the same subspecies? Of course not. You can't have that biologically. It just does not fit. And so, so what else is there? You know, you're saying that and what do they require? Just some random plants? No, no animal eats random plants. They eat very specific plants. And so, okay, do we need certain plants? Okay, that would come from our evolutionary past. Okay. Well, what plants existed when we were evolving into Homo sapiens that we're eating now? There are none. You know, we've bred most of the plants that we eat from the same root plants. They're just the same sort of plants, and we just have all these different plants that are completely unnatural, meaning that they don't exist in nature. And yet these are the ones we eat. None of these existed 50,000 years ago. None of these were something that we would even have access to 50,000 years ago. So how can it be that some peoples evolves on that? And if it were, then they need that plant or that cluster of plants. Not just any plant will do, right? Because plants have toxins, and you have to be evolved to the toxins in those plants. And you also are evolved to the specific nutrients. And so just eating any random plant, they all have different nutrients in them. They all have different bioavailability of these nutrients. So the idea that you can't survive on a pure carnivore diet does not fit with the observed facts, because we have entire civilizations alive right now who are either currently living as full carnivores or very recently did, and we have clear documentation and records of this. And so we know that that's not true. We know that meat has absolutely everything you need in the proportion that you need it. Okay, well, what about things you have to have from plants that you're not getting, from meat? Well, no, because again, you can survive as a full carnivore. You know that. So there's nothing wrong with meat. There's nothing toxic in meat, and there's nothing lacking in meat. So why are people getting sick? They're not. So if you're eating, you know, uh, properly, and you're getting enough fat, you're getting enough nutrients, you're eating enough, you're not going to get hurt. I've heard that where where this gentleman said that everyone's testosterone tanks and their blood work goes crazy and they got all these nutrient deficiencies, and like, I've never seen that. I've never seen that once in my entire life. And I only see people get better. It is the case that the meat that we're eating is not wild game. It's not wild mammoth, which is what we've been, megafauna and things like that. Regeneratively raised grass-fed and finished beef from certain farmers and producers that I've seen that have published their nutritional breakdown of their animals. They have 4 to 5 times the number of micronutrients as just average USDA beef, right? That grain finished beef. So is that what we're supposed to eat? No, we needed, we were used to getting a bit more nutrient density. So could someone ostensibly just need a bit more, that like need more of the regeneratively raised grass-fed and finished sort of thing, or add in a bit of liver, some kidneys, some heart, which are much more nutrient dense? Absolutely. And people make that argument all the time. Or you can have people that are from a very nutritionally deficient, as they come into a carnivore diet, they improve because they're getting more nutrients, but maybe it's just not quite enough or not going all that fast. And so adding in a bit of nutrients, more nutrient dense sort of food in the organs, and even like a dedicated supplement or something like that, just to catch you up, maybe that helps. But like, I've never seen anyone's. I check people's testosterone all the time. That's one of the basic panels that I do for my male and female patients, is I check their testosterone and other hormones and their nutrition, their B12, folate, vitamin D, zinc, magnesium. These are sometimes even selenium and iodine, right? And so if you are eating just food with some organs, or regeneratively raised, grass-fed and finished, like, definitely almost everyone can get optimal nutrition, or really close to it, by just eating muscle meat. Some people with MTHFR gene mutation, maybe they need a little bit more, but they can still do very well. But they might need a little bit more B12, maybe need a little bit more folate. That's either debatable as well. I mean, I've heard doctors and PhDs argue over whether folate is even necessary, as long as you have enough B12. That's B12 what we need, and folate, as long as you don't have a deficiency in B12, that you don't actually need folate, that's much less important, or even not, or even, you know, ancillary, just like it's not important when you have normal B12. So, you know, that's debatable, but either way, they both exist in meat, and they both exist in an abundance in liver. And when I test people's folate on a carnivore diet, the vast majority of people have completely normal folate levels and excellent B12 levels. And I've seen a couple people every now and then that have, you know, traditionally thought of as lower level of folate. And the majority of those people are completely asymptomatic. They feel fantastic. Michaela Peterson is a famous example of that. You know, she'd been doing this for, you know, basically as long as I have. We sort of started independently around the same time for different reasons and by different, you know, by different avenues. But she knows her folate. She's like, oh, that's a little low. Interesting. She had just had a baby, you know, or like, and so it's like, all right, you know, and the kid didn't have spina bifida, you know, and so I think that was the time. Anyway, it was around the time that she had been, you know, pregnant or whatever. But either way, she was completely asymptomatic. Maybe it was just before. Maybe that's why she was checking her folate. You know, I don't want to get that wrong, but either way, you know, she was completely asymptomatic. And so she went, oh, okay, you know, just so maybe she took a supplement or just took some liver, and then that's what a lot of people do, and they just add in a bit of liver, folate comes right up. There's no issues. And so some people I've found, you know, they may be feeling a bit off, and they check their bloods and their folate's a bit low. They add in a bit of liver, folate comes up, they feel better. You know, is it the folate, or maybe they were a bit low on B12, or maybe they're a bit low on something else? You know, who knows? But either way, the liver helped, and it did help the folate. So regardless, you know, I mean, I don't think that we should ignore folate at all, especially when we're talking about pregnancy. I think you just err on the side of caution and make sure your folate's good by eating liver. I don't think you need to do anything else. And so again, you're not missing anything as long as you're eating, you know, I mean, and again, you know, we're not eating the meat that we're designed to eat either, you know, so we need to keep that in mind from a nutrition standpoint. Most people are fine. But if you're not, add in some organs, right? It's nature's vitamin, right? And it's, oh, you're missing these nutrients from plants. No, no, no. You include organs, you'll cover everything that you have. I've never seen anybody's testosterone go down. I've never once seen a guy's testosterone go down. I've only seen them go up. I've seen exactly one ever, not dramatically increase his testosterone, just one, and that stayed the same. And he has a lot of stress in his life. He's only been doing carnivore for 2 months, and so I'm not too worried about that. He's feeling good. He's losing weight. All these other things are improving. It's just his testosterone is just sort of staying where it is. Fine, you know, but that'll come up. Everybody else I've seen just comes right up. I've seen 72-year-old men with testosterone at very low levels. I've seen them over triple their testosterone levels at 72 with absolutely no medications whatsoever, just the carnivore diet, and it bounces up into the range that you'd expect a healthy 25-year-old man to be. And then I've seen an 18-year-old young man who had a testosterone level even lower than the 72-year-old man who had very low testosterone. And most doctors would see that and be like, well, look, you're in primary gonadal failure, your testicles don't work, you know, you're going to have to be on testosterone replacement for the rest of your life. You probably won't have kids because this is like, you know, this is something's going wrong down there. And when you take testosterone replacement therapy, it actually suppresses spermatogenesis even more. And so probably never going to have kids, you know, because the signal from your brain just isn't getting the job done. Right. And so that would have, you know, put him in a position that he was never going to have kids. He was always going to be dependent on pharmacology and in order to live a somewhat normal life and development. I changed his diet. You know, I just had him go towards a carnivore diet. He ate a lot more meat, and he still had sort of cheat days every now and then. He'd have, like, you know, a bunch of rice and curries and things like that. But he was eating a lot more meat and cutting out most of the other garbage. And a lot of days he was just eating meat, but he was just having some cheat days here and there. Even then, not even doing it, exactly as I would do it, in 2 months, his testosterone level more than doubled, you know. And so, and that's what I keep seeing. And so now he's going to really try to just cut all that out, and he's feeling even better. And he's 18 years old. He could stand to grow another 4 or 5 inches. You know, he's a bit shorter than you would expect someone at his age. So it's not something that I've ever seen. I've never seen anybody long term get these problems. I mean, you have we mentioned the zero carb health and zeroing in on health. That those Facebook groups have been around for 15, 20 years, right? There are people on there that have been doing carnivore for 20 plus years, right? And none of these problems. We don't see any of these problems. I think that gentleman said that it was after sort of 6, 8 months, then you start seeing, the cracks form. And he said that 100% of his patients that were 100% carnivore got all these problems. And I have seen 0% of my 100% carnivores get those problems. And I don't even see many people get those problems, even if they're approaching 100%. But when everybody has problems, it's, well, cut out these plants and, oh, problem goes away. Look at that. So no, I see the exact opposite of that. And the observed phenomena, is exactly the opposite of that. We have entire populations that are carnivore their entire existence. The human race was based on a carnivorous past where we were in the tundra and the ice of the Arctic Circle during ice ages. There were no plants available whatsoever, full stop. And so that's who we are as a species. That is exactly what we can survive on and thrive on. And so it just doesn't meet with the observed facts. And again, there are these people that have been around 20, 30, 50 years, Europeans living in America, European heritage living in America and elsewhere, that have been doing this long term with none of the problems that he's saying that you get after 8 months. So I don't know what's going on. I don't know if he's actually seeing this or if there's something else happening, but I certainly have not seen anything to do with this. I've never seen other doctors say the same thing. There are thousands of doctors around the world doing this now and having their patients do this. And I've never heard a single one of them say that they're seeing these problems in patients. I only hear them saying they're getting better. I have patients sent into me because their oncologist has told them that they need to go on a carnivore diet to help their cancer treatments, because their cardiologist has told them they need to go on a carnivore diet to help to better help their cardiovascular health. I mean, I'm seeing this more and more and more, and I'm not seeing any of those problems that they're seeing. So I don't know what else is going on there. It'd be nice to try to talk to them and try to figure out what's going on, so we put our heads together, but I've simply not seen that.